Summer routines live or die by how easy they are, and honestly, if something takes too much effort, I'm out. That's why Groons is my go-to. It's my one daily pack of gummies covering my greens, vitamins, and minerals. Plus, it has 6 grams of prebiotic fiber, which is more than 2 cups of broccoli. No mixing powders, no giant pills, no hassle. I just rip open the pack and I'm done. They taste good and they make it easy to stay on top of my health, even when life gets busy. Save up to 52% with the code PODCAST at Groons.co. That's code PODCAST at GRUNS.co.
Now is the chance to use reliable energy to grow your money with the Dominion Energy Reliability Investment. Our new investment product offers competitive returns, no maintenance fees, and flexible online access to your money. Make the reliable investment in reliable energy. The Dominion Energy Reliability Investment. To find out more, go online to reliabilityinvestment.com. That's reliabilityinvestment.com.
Welcome back to TalkNorth.com. Thank you for listening. If you can, please download before you listen. It helps our business. I'd also like to thank our producer, Brandon Morton, and let you know if you'd like to sponsor this program or any of the programs on the network, you can reach me at jsouhan47@gmail.com. Okay, where are you today, Michael, as you traverse North America?
Montreal.
I thought so.
Yeah, got in a little delayed, rushed to the hotel, rushed to the rink. They had an optional practice to get ready for Thursday's game against the Canadiens to wrap up this 3-game road trip. And optional practice, 3 games in 4 nights, 5 and 8, a lot of travel. So they used rest as their big thing to work on today, and I'm sure they'll get a lot of guys on the ice tomorrow and try to get ready for the Habs here.
This is the Russo-Hockey Show, part of the TalkNorth.com podcast network. Please follow us on Twitter at TalkNorthPod. Thank you to our producer, Brandon Morton, and thank you to our sponsors, Twill and the Dining Galleria, ThixologyRepair.com, Tony Hoagland, your State Farm agent, and BlackSquad.com. Also, our next live show, correct me if I'm wrong, at Tin Shed in Savage. Find their information at tinshedmn.com. Will be 7 o'clock on October 21st. Right, Michael?
Yep, October 21st.
Just want to make sure. I had Vicky and a couple people reach out to me. I just want to make sure we have that date for everybody, October 21st, 7 o'clock. And as you know by now, it's a lot of fun to be there and do the show and interact with everybody. So please come out and join us. All right, I'm going to start off the program with a very general question. How bad is it? I mean, it's one thing to lose games. It's one thing to have a bad streak. Is this even worse than just your average kind of lull in a hockey season?
Well, yeah, no, it hasn't been good. Vicky was ahead of the game. Doobie hasn't looked good. If you remember the last live show, Vicky asked about Doobie, and I protected him, but she must have saw the fundamentals starting to lapse in Dubnik's game because he hasn't been very good. And they are just a slow team, man. I mean, they give up quick goals. It's unbelievable. Every game, it's 2 goals in 30 seconds, 2 goals in 2 minutes, 2 goals in 45 seconds. Last night, same thing in Toronto. Just 3 goals almost instantly, and it's been all with Dubnyk and net. But regardless of just Dubnyk here, I mean, they are so bad in their own zone. It is frightening watching Jared Spurgeon and Jonas Brodin play right now. And Matt Dumba was just, so it starts with the first play of the game with Ryan Suter losing the puck, and it just didn't get better. Dumba had a bad game yesterday as well. It's not very good. And then their forwards are, I don't know if they're cheating for offense or they know they don't have speed. But it's like the second somebody gets the puck, it's like 3 forwards fly out of the zone and give nobody the ability to pass to send an outlet pass up. Last night again, watching Toronto skate on them and the Wild's defense backing up and giving them the zone every night. They're an easy team to play against right now, and it's they play well for certain portions of the game, but it just has not been sustainable for a long time. And then the other thing is speed wise, they have guys on their team, and it's not just the veterans it's not just not playing fast. I mean, they are a slow-footed team. And it's frightening to watch. I don't know how in a league that's young and fast that they're going to be able to sustain this for 82 games. It's just, we always joke that this team is not lucky enough or never bad enough to get a top draft pick, that they always eke into the playoffs. This could be the year, everybody. I mean, I don't see how they don't finish with near the bottom record in the league. They're just not a good hockey team.
That's the thing. They could tank without trying to tank.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I'm just so tired of that question on Twitter. It's like, they're 1-5. What more could they do to tank? It's like they are just not a good team. Billy Guerin doesn't have to do anything to help this team tank. Let me promise. So they are just not a good hockey team. And maybe when they start, if they can somehow stay afloat here during the remaining portion of this road-heavy schedule and get it home, maybe they're going to luck out. But I mean, we saw against Pittsburgh, they just don't have it in them. And it's scary how old some of these guys have gotten very quickly. There are guys that are just playing awful hockey right now, and it's up and down the lineup. Everybody, it's the young kids, the veterans, but this is as bad as we've seen Parise look. This is as bad as we've seen Stahl look. Parise can't catch a puck right now. It's just. Man, it is so hard to watch, and it's been frustrating to watch, especially at the beginning of the year, because you just know that, as I said to my editor the other day, we're going to have to come up with new ways to write a gamer, because I can't just destroy them every single game.
Oh, I'd like to see you try.
Yeah, I know, but man, it is exhausting, and it's just, I do feel for Billy Guerin. Like, I was talking to Rick Ferraro about this yesterday before the Wild played the Leafs. Before we saw what they did against the Leafs, is that there's just no easy out here, because what he needs is time, but he's got guys on contracts that are just immovable. And now you add Zuccarello to the mix. So you got these aging bodies that look like they've fallen off. You got contracts that are hard to move. You have young kids that don't look like they're going to be studs. So you got an owner that wants to win now still. Now Craig Leopold sat next to Billy Guerin in the press box last night. I got to think that was an uncomfortable game for Craig Leopold to watch, because it's got to be so obvious to him the deficiency in talent compared to a young, fast, exciting team like the Leafs. And it just, the Wild are not on the same plateau, playing as these teams. They're evenly matched with the Ottawa Senators, that's for sure. But
Ottawa's terrible, by the way. My God, that's a bad team.
And the other thing I was thinking about today as I was flying here, I had a plane delay, so I was just doing a lot of kind of writing down notes to myself and things like that. But for the one thing that's very interesting about every single one of the games is that the Wild are evenly matched with the second, third, and fourth lines of every opponent they've played this year. But they're getting destroyed every game by the top line of the other team. And what that tells me is that there's a lack of talent there. Is that, the one thing about the Wild, for all their warts and failures the last couple of years of playoffs, is that they usually play. It's funny. It's like they usually get beat by the third and fourth lines by the other teams, but figure out a way to shut down the stars of the other teams. Now it's every night. I mean, Nashville was a bit of everybody, but they go to Colorado and they were killed by Rantanen and McKinnon and Landeskog, despite doing a pretty good job against that line for most of the night. Then they go to Winnipeg, and who was it that destroyed them? It was Laine and Connor and Scheifele. Then they go and play home against Pittsburgh, and Sidney Crosby looked like it was Sidney Crosby 5, 6, 7 years ago. Then they go to Ottawa. Ottawa doesn't count. And then Toronto last night again. Morgan Riley, 4 assists. Mitch Marner, 3 points. Austin Matthews, a goal. Tavares, a goal. I don't even know the name of any other Leafs player. Janssen was awesome. But you know what I mean? Like, there were no other players in that game that were a threat. It's every night they do a good job long enough, but there's always that lapse where they are unable to nullify the opposing stars of the other team. And that's scary because the bread and butter of the Wild used to be a checking, defensively sound team that used to be able to really do a quality job against these stars of the other team. And so far, it's every night. Marcus Foligno said it after the Pittsburgh game the other day, is that they're losing to he basically called Pittsburgh a one-line team and Winnipeg a one-line team. He's like, we're losing to one-line teams every night. And it's really, whether that's true or not, the reality is that it is the number one line of the other team that's doing the Wild in every game.
I have an area of concern that stands out to me. I'll ask you about. Do want to thank Twill, TWILLMN.com. That's Twill in the United Galleria. Friendliest shop you're going to run into. Great quality clothing, Trask shoes, Peter Millar shirts, Johnny O shirts and pants, Brax pants. All this is stuff I bought and I wear all the time. Check it out, TwillMN.com, Twill in the United Galleria. I'm here with my wife, Stacy. We went to Twill in the Edina Galleria the other day. We saw Scott Dayton, and I bought the nicest sport jacket I've ever owned, the most comfortable pants I've ever owned. They're Brax. A nice pair of loafers that I can wear to the ballpark. I think they're called Tracks. And I bought a bunch of Stenstrom short sleeve shirts to go with my Stenstrom nice dress shirts. And, I used to wear just disposable clothes. Now when I buy something, I buy it at Twill. I know it's going to last me the rest of my life, and it's going to be comfortable.
And on top of that, it's not just the best stuff you've ever had, but it's really everyday things that you can wear and that will fit all occasions.
Twill in the Edina Galleria, TwillMN.com, Twill on Instagram. Here's what's jumped out to me, Michael, watching on TV, is that the strength of this team should be the top 4D, and they are not playing well, and they're not helping Dubnyk much, and they're not producing points. I mean, Brad Hunt is like just because he can play on the power play has been like a defensive highlight.
Yeah, you're right. It is scary. I think a lot of it has to do with the inefficiencies of the forwards, and the fact that they're not scoring. So it's obviously it's hurting the top 4D defensively. But you're right. I mean, when I don't know what's going on with Spurgeon and Brodin. Brodin had such a fabulous training camp. He was so bad last night. It was scary. And Jared Spurgeon, when do we ever see him get on the wrong side of guys? It's happening every game. Watching Spurgeon and Brodin in Winnipeg, it just was, it's alarming. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if they're starting to sense that it's like everybody feels they got to do it together, and it's just messing everybody up. But you're right. I mean, defensive zone coverage was much better against Ottawa, but it was Ottawa. Ottawa is terrible. And so to watch them scramble around their own zone, constantly give up the neutral zone, be so ineffective in the neutral zone coming up ice with the puck. I mean, they're as slow as any team I have ever covered with the puck. It's unbelievable to watch. I mean, it's kind of why I always sort of lose my temper when fans rip on Bruce for having them dump the puck. This team can do nothing but dump the puck. They don't have the ability to skate through the neutral zone. How many times did we watch against Ottawa the other day a Wild player carry the puck over the blue line but have to hit the brakes because he had no speed? It's constant, and it's everybody. It's not just Parise, Stahl, and Koivu. It's Greenway. It's Rask. It's Zucker even. They're not a fast team right now, and it's not just skating wise. They don't think the game fast, and they're just dumb things every night. They played such smart hockey in the first period in Toronto, got pucks deep, played with pace. And then second period, it's just, I hate to say it because I don't want to rip on the guy, but, it starts with that one shift where Mayhew turned the puck over, I think 3 different times on the same shift. And it was just like after that first power play ended and then Mayhew had the turnovers, it got really, really sketchy where it just like Toronto suddenly built on that momentum. And then you have one dumb penalty by Ryan Hartman. and it turns the entire game around. And there's no doubt Jake Muzzin dove there. I mean, it was amazing that it wasn't called, but still, regardless, that would have nullified the power play. There was the breakaway by Donato. There was no reason for Ryan Hartman to touch him, but as Bruce Boudreau said after the game, he was upset that he just got hit hard. He was upset that he got up stunned and hurt, and then at a reaction. And we've seen it from Ryan Hartman a couple times. He lost his temper, took a dumb penalty, and it changed the game. And it's unacceptable.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a good day to do a lot of Twitter questions. I think because we don't always get to the Twitter questions when we do live shows. So I want to hit on a few of those. Do want to thank Fixology Repair, fixologyrepair.com, now in downtown St. Paul, along with Mall of America, downtown Minneapolis, and even in Toledo.
Hi, this is John with Fixology Repair. For the better part of a decade, we've been privileged to serve you for all of your jewelry, watch, and smartphone repair needs at the Mall of America. Since Minnesotans largely hate going to the mall, we expanded 2 years ago to reach you in the Minneapolis Skyway. And now this year, we're pleased to announce we have a new location at Wells Fargo Place in the St. Paul Skyway. All 3 shops are equipped to help with your watch and cell phone repair needs on-site, while all jewelry, computer, and game consoles will be completed at the Mall of America store. Please bring us your repair challenges, and don't forget to mention the Talk North podcast for a 10% discount on all of our services.
Okay, so starting big picture from Jackson Purdy, what do you think Leopold regrets more, hiring Paul Fenton or firing Chuck Fletcher?
Hiring Fenton. I mean, look, Chuck, 9 years here. 3 straight playoff losses. Say what you want about the Fenton trades. The reality is that Zucker, Granlund, not Granlund, Zucker, Niederreiter, and Coyle were coming off a playoffs where they didn't have a point. It was just time to make a change. But you got to hire the right guy, and he hired the wrong guy. I mean, there's no doubt about it. So. I would say I know for a fact it was hiring Fenton.
Absolutely. From James, he's account for hockey on Twitter. How badly does Boudreau want to coach the Leafs?
I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of appetizing teams right out there right now for Boudreau to want to coach. Right now, his biggest concern is getting this team out of this mess. But there's not much you could do.
From Alex Breitfelder. Our turnover is a big issue for the team right now. It seems like they're not synced up at all on passes and zone changes. And that's, as a non-hockey expert like myself, that's what I notice the most is it doesn't seem to be much cohesion between forwards and the D-men.
No, there's no cohesion. It's like, everybody's just doing their own thing out there. And they're not dialed in at all, especially in their own zone. But you're right. I mean, look at that 4th goal last night. I mean, Brodin breaks his stick, and it's just like he didn't know what to do. First, he wanted to play the odd man rush. Then he wanted to go to the bench and grab a new stick. Then he sees Suter halfway over the boards. Instead of then going to the bench to allow Suter to make a change, he almost hits the brakes. Then he goes to the bench, and then by that point, Toronto's on a odd man rush the other way again, the top line. And it doesn't always seem like any time this happens, it's always against the top line guys of the other team. It's constant. These top lines that the Wild are facing every night just have to be salivating anytime they play Minnesota. It's got to change, or this is going to be a long, long year. I mean, some fans want it to be a long, long year, but it doesn't make it any easier to watch. That's for sure.
Well, I mean, let me ask the question that I'm sure 85 people are asking on Twitter right now is, does Bruce take the fall for this, even if it's not his fault? And if so, is that something they would do quickly? Is that something you give the team half a season to really evaluate?
Well, I mean, Billy Guerin wants to not fire him, and
right.
He has made it extremely clear. He gave him a vote of confidence to me at practice the other day. I wrote he gave a vote of confidence to Pierre LeBrun in a Q&A that he did for The Athletic yesterday. He, I believe, Ray Ferraro, I haven't listened to the podcast, but Billy Guerin did a podcast with Ray Ferraro and Darren Dreger yesterday where he gave him a vote of confidence. I read Ken Campbell from the Hockey News today, and Ken has Billy saying that he's got nothing to worry about. I'm going to do a podcast also with Billy tomorrow, same thing. The reality is he doesn't want to fire him. And to me, it makes no sense to fire him because, look, this team's going nowhere with the coaching change. So if you're, I mean, I hate to say it like this because everybody knows how much I respect Bruce, but if you're a new GM and you're going to watch this mayhem potentially for this year, why would you want to put your new coach? Like, say there was somebody out there right now that he wanted to hire. Why would you want to put him in place now? It's almost, I hate to say it like this, but it's almost like let Bruce go down with the ship the rest of the year. And then when his contract is up after the year, then you go and not only do you maybe hire your own guy then and have a fair evaluation starting next year, but potentially, even if he has somebody in mind, you know, there could be 3, 4, 5 other coaches suddenly available because, you know, in a league where everybody gets fired, there could be a bunch of guys available next summer that aren't available now. So, and also on this team, it's not like there's an obvious interim coach here. You know, there's obviously Dean Evison and Bob Woods here. There's Tim Army in the minors, but I don't know if Billy would want to go that route. So if you don't think that firing a coach is going to make this team a playoff contender, and Billy knows hockey, he knows this, he's got to know by now that this team isn't one. It makes no sense to fire him, in my opinion. Now that doesn't always matter, but all I can tell you is. You know, right now, I don't get the impression that he wants to make a change. And I just don't think it makes any sense whatsoever. I mean, you make a coaching change because you think that you're going to be able to magically fix this team. This team is woefully undermatched compared to a lot of teams in this league. They're not a cup contender. They're probably not even a playoff contender. So I don't know what the purpose is of firing the coach right now would be.
Oh, I agree with you. It's just, as you know, in our business, that's the first question everybody asks you is when they're going to fire the coach. Well, you know, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but it is the question that's going to be asked constantly.
And there's just, I mean, you know, if you haven't watched this team, it's like, you know, Mike Harrington, who I respect a lot from the Buffalo News, tweeted out the other day saying that when's Bruce getting fired? This team has so much talent. And I almost wanted to call Mike today and say, Mike, just watch one Wild game before you tweet that again. Yeah. Because, you know, like, yeah, the names you put are very talented players 5 years ago. But you know, their kids are not going to be, you know, the kids that they thought they were, I don't think. The Fialas, the Donatos, I mean, they're 22. I know that it's way too young, but I don't see top 6 game breakers with any of the young kids. And we are obviously seeing the tail end and backside of the career of a lot of veterans right now.
I'll bring up a positive note after we thank Tony Hoagland, Hoaglund. If you call Tony, just Google him for all his information. You know, if you call Tony, he will make a donation to Jason Zucker's foundation, and it will be matched by the National State Farm agent. And so, good cause, just for just making a call and seeing what Tony can offer you. When I talked to Tony about this, it was easy for both Michael and myself to use him as our insurance agent.
Hi, Talk North listeners. I wanted to let you all know about State Farm's new program called Quotes for Good. We partner with local nonprofits to raise money for great causes. For the Russo-Souhan Show, I'll be donating $16 to the Jason and Carly Zucker Give 16 campaign that benefits the University of Minnesota Masonic Children's Hospital. When you call in, be sure to mention the show so that we can track the donations. You can reach us at 763-421-4900 or check out our website at champlininsurance.com.
At least, Michael, we have the Victor Rask breakout moment.
Yeah, and I don't know if he'll play tomorrow. I really don't against Montreal. You know, I mean, he was good the other night. Last night, like everybody, wasn't as good. But Fiala's getting back in against Montreal, and Bruce said today that Mayhew's playing. So the question is somebody hurt or who's coming out of the lineup? And, you know, if you sit, the problem is Zuccarello's not on the trip. So if you sit Rask, then you either got to put Cunnin back at center or you've got to put Donato or Greenway at center. Or Rask stays in and maybe you take a guy like Greenway out. You know, he hasn't had his chance to be out yet. And I don't think he's playing overly great. So, you know, it'll be interesting to see what happens when we get to the rink tomorrow. But, you know, Rask still is who he is. I mean, you know, that was a great play for him the other day in a lot of ways. I hate to say it because he didn't have to skate. You know, right. I mean, it was just a really good alert. He's a smart hockey player and he's got a great shot, but skating is what makes him very ineffective at the NHL level. And, you know, he did a good job on the forecheck, but even around the corner, I mean, he actually lost the puck and sort of lost the battle, but luckily Greenway kind of intercepted it. And then what happened is the puck got spurred scored into the middle, and he reached for it and got the puck, and all he had to do was turn, and he nonchalantly sniped it. It was a great play. But still, last night in a skating game, he was not very good.
Right. From our friend Luke Cahill on Twitter, we might have already covered this, but I wanted to give Luke a shot here. Inconsistencies make sense due to having younger players. Who deserves blame for lack of flow and playing with speed? Bruce, assistants, players. I think you've already answered that. It's players.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, it's a team effort. I mean, you can, everybody deserves blame, from coaches to the players, but right now, I mean, as Luke said, I mean, they don't don't have a lot of fluidity to their game. It's there are times, and this is my concern. I mean, what Wild fans saw in the first period is how the Wild have to play 60 minutes a night to win on an every single game, nightly basis, and I just don't know if it's in them if it's sustainable over 60 minutes for them to do it that way, because the veterans don't want to commit to it, and but they've got to realize their inefficiencies. Every single night. I mean, you hear Stahl, you hear Parise, you hear Dudnik, all these guys saying, for whatever reason, it's just not coming together. The hardest thing sometimes for veterans to admit is just when their game's fallen off here. And right now, they've got to look in the mirror and realize, look, they cannot go up against Austin Matthews or John Tavares or Mitch Marner or William Nylander and be successful on a nightly basis unless they're going to play a certain style of hockey. And it's a hard style of hockey to play because it's not exactly fun. It's a grind. Getting pucks deep, going in there and battling and checking. It's not a great, fun way for veterans to play. And last night we saw what happens when they get out of that way. They were able to do it for 20 minutes, and then it was just, that was it. They couldn't again.
Absolutely. From Greg on Twitter, last week you mentioned how you don't believe the Wild will make the playoffs and that they still shouldn't tank. If they're really as uncompetitive as they seem, wouldn't it be better to try and improve their draft position? It's basically the same old question. And as we're saying, right now there's no doubt they're trying to win, and they have no chance of winning. So I don't think you have to intentionally tank. And the question is, so I guess the philosophical question is, if they're going to be this bad, is there anything they would or should do to ensure that they end up with a high draft pick?
Well, I mean, look, I don't know what I said last week, but all I can tell you is what I believe, and what I probably meant to say, if it wasn't clear, is if you thought that I said that they shouldn't tank, what I was saying is that there's no such thing as tanking anymore. One, it's impossible to tank and assure yourself of the number one overall pick, because every non-playoff team has a chance of that. We just saw it this past year with the Rangers and Chicago and all these teams that weren't even close to the bottom that still, jumped up to get top draft picks. So tanking assures you of nothing. And two, my point is on rebuilds is that it's impossible to do with this type of roster, because the guys that you can only move are the ones that are either young and don't have a lot of salary, or the Brodins of the world. The veterans are not movable. I mean, they just signed Zuccarello to a $30 million deal. You think somebody's taking that right now off their hands? The way that Zach Parise is playing right now, it's not going to be easy to move him, even though I think, as I've said consistently all summer long, if he was given a great opportunity to go somewhere that was a good situation, that he would almost assuredly waive his no trade. But who's taking him right now? The way that he's playing, these guys are being scouted every single night. So that was the other thing, is that if you wanted a rebuild here, the guys to trade for a rebuild would have been the Coyles and the Granlunds and the Niederreiters, but they were given away essentially for nothing. And that's a major problem. There were no futures that came with them. It was a flawed plan. And now all of a sudden, the guys that you could have traded for a bunch of futures, prospects, picks, things like that, are no longer available to trade. So now, which is scarier, is that Bill Guerin really has to analyze all the young kids on the team and whether or not they're the ones that you have to move. And then, that's always scary, because you could put them in another situation, another team, and have them break out there, and you're kind of beating yourself up because you just gave away Kevin Fiala for futures. So it's not an easy situation right now. And this is sort of what I mean. This is what I mean is that, like, Bill Guerin's got a huge task ahead of him here to truly try to analyze exactly what to do with this roster because it's going to take time to get this team on par with everybody. This has been, look, in a lot of ways they're paying the piper for years of Chuck Fletcher trying to win now. That was Craig Leopold's edict for him. He was always trading futures to try to win now. I think the downfall of this team really started with the Hansel trade. It just, the Wild lost their way. They traded a first and a second for a guy that should never been acquired by Chuck Fletcher. That is on him. It was just a horrendous trade for Hansel. And it's really started there where this team, that year against St. Louis, that was a beatable, that was the year that they should have won, and they just did not.
And I'll go back to that moment in time, and I thought they needed another. I thought they needed somebody like Hansel. The day they traded for him, we're both working at the Star Tribune together. I thought it was a good deal, and you thought it was a bad deal, and of course, you ended up being very right about that.
Well, I mean, I've never been a Hansel guy, and the other thing that I didn't like was that Eric Haula started playing great for them right before that trade, and then what that did is it knocked him to the fourth line, and he was pissed. So it messed with the chemistry of the team. And now you're putting a guy that couldn't skate, that I don't think has a huge heart to begin with, and you put him on the third line there, and it just never worked. And the worst thing that happened to him is, I think, if you remember, they went into their bye week, if I remember correctly, at the end of February, so right before the trade deadline, and they played Chicago in the last game before the bye week, and Taves lit them up. I think he had a 4-point game, won them the game in overtime. Everybody's going to have to look this up. And I just think it made Chuck Fletcher and even probably Bruce Boudreau realize or believe that they needed another center to go and acquire. Unfortunately, Hansel was not the guy they should have acquired.
No, exactly. And, and again, I critique local teams. I should critique myself when I get one wrong. I was in complete agreement with their thinking, but as you pointed out, even if it was the right philosophical idea, it was the wrong player at that time.
There weren't a lot of centers available. I'll have to go back and look. I remember the other guy that they were looking at was that, was it the Danish, is there a Danish guy that used to play for Vancouver and San Jose? Center. God, I can't believe I can't forget his name. Cannot believe I can't remember his name right now.
What? Look it up and bring it to the next show because that'll be the next live.
But that was another guy, and it's not like I can't remember if it was either Vancouver or San Jose that traded for him, and it's not like he did anything there either. So it's there just weren't a lot of options to begin with, and I know. Look, that was a year that everybody thought that the Wild actually had a chance to go and maybe even be a cup contender, and I think that Chuck Fletcher was almost scared at that time to just stand pat at the trade deadline, and in his eyes, he thought he was doing the right thing by going out and adding a center that a lot of people had respect for. But I had covered that guy enough to know. I mean, I remember sitting in the stands. It was definitely after the bye because it was before the trade deadline. It was the first practice at the end of the bye. Anthony LaPanta and I are sitting in the top of the lower bowl, and I got a message from a source of mine that said they're about to acquire Hansel. And I look at Anthony, I'm like, you're not going to effing believe this. They are about to trade for Martin Hansel. And he goes, what'd they give up? And I said, I don't know yet. And I said, if they gave up a first-round pick, they're going to regret this day forever. And then all of a sudden it comes out, and not only did they give up a first, but they gave up a first, a second. And I looked at Anthony. I'm like, what the heck are they thinking here? It was just dumb.
Wow. Okay, let's finish up the show with Twitter questions. A couple of reminders. First of all, is Bite Squad. The code is Talk North for your first delivery fee to be waived. But go to bitesquad.com. Sometimes they have even better deals than that. And if you've already used the Talk North promo code, then you can usually find something at their website, or you can just use them because they deliver really good food. Restaurant quality food from the restaurant as if it just came out of the kitchen, morning, noon, night, late night, snack time, office, home, or wherever. Bitesquad.com, Bite Squad, the app. The app is really easy to use. Also, remember, October 21st at 7 o'clock, the next live show at Tin Shed in Savage. That's tinshedmn.com. You can see a nice picture of Michael's face and all the deals that they have at Tin Shed. We'll tell you more about their menu and everything else when we do the live show, tinshedmn.com. We've had great crowds down there, and we really enjoy seeing everybody out. On Twitter, Kevin Hanlon, everyone is wondering if Bruce is safe, but I'm wondering if he even wants to stay. If he wants to win a cup, this team isn't going to get it done anytime soon.
I mean, look, nobody wants to get fired. So that's probably all I should say on that. No, I don't want to get into his mind.
From Connor Bale, a little out of the loop on this, but was Philippe Johansson a bust, or is he still on his way?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't watch him. I can tell you that belief is that he's probably not going to make it, but we'll have to see. He's 19 years old.
From Daniel Hassett, basically asks, is the terrible start due to the fact that they're playing tough teams on the road? I mean, is that a factor, or is that the cause at this point?
Well, yeah. I mean, look, there's no doubt they have a hard schedule to begin the season. And not only are they playing on the road 6 of their first 7 and 13 of their first 18, but they are playing against really, really quality opponents and opponents that they don't match up well against, because these are all fast teams. The problem is that you look around the league right now, and it's just like, I was just looking at the bottom of the Eastern Conference right now, and all those teams are still dangerous teams, teams that I don't think the Wild match up against. And that's the thing here. And the problem when you start a schedule like this on the road is that if you don't tread water early, you are chasing the pack the rest of the season. And that's what the Wild find themselves in right now, starting 1-5 and potentially worse. So they've got to get some wins here, or the standings are going to get out of hand in a real big hurry here. And we're starting to see that. I mean, you're already staring up at everybody. So look, there's no doubt that they've got a tough schedule here, and they're playing hard teams and things like that. But the reality is that you still got to win these games, and they're not doing it.
From Danny Sussman, there's been a lot of talk about Guerin and change in attitude. How much time is he spending in the locker room and with the players, and how does that compare to other GMs with all the talk about his pep talks? Almost sounds like he's another coach in the room.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's doing that, but he is around the team a lot. He is definitely in the locker room a lot. I saw him down there today. Rob Rossi, who works for The Athletic, used to cover him with the Pittsburgh Penguins, shadowed him last week, the day before the Wild played the Penguins, and hung around with him in the bowels of the Wild practice facility, and paints a pretty good picture of him just sitting in the workout room, chatting with players, asking how they're doing, making jokes and things like that. And that's one of the things that I definitely want to talk to Billy Guerin about on my podcast yesterday, tomorrow, when we recorded at the morning skate, is that sometimes he tries to be Bill Guerin, the GM, but the Billy G, which was his acumen when he played, usually comes out, because he was always a fun, affable guy, loose in the locker room, practical jokester, things like that. So he's still doing that around the locker room. And that's part of the thing that, he's going to have to try to, as he transitions to being more on, as the head honcho here, he's going to have to kind of play that balance, because, sometimes it's a little dangerous to get to know these guys on such a personal basis where you like them and you respect them. And then you maybe have to make some hard decisions about their future that's going to uproot their life. He's going to have to, kind of walk that line. He's learning as it's going along, but Billy's always going to be Billy. I mean, he's always going to be a guy that is down by the locker room, that players going to like, they're going to feel comfortable talking to, that he's going to feel comfortable going in. Some GMs back in the old days, they would actually walk in the room even between periods and tear the team apart. I don't see Billy ever doing stuff like that, but he's, like all GMs, Paul Fenton had a fuse too. I remember Paul Fenton actually got fined last year by the league because like 3 games in a row he stormed down to the referee's room, and he got fined, I think, the third game in a row, because they warned him after number 2 never to do it again. And so all GMs have fuses. I remember Brian Murray used to do that once a game, and it got to the point where the league basically told these GMs, do not ever go near the restroom again, So Paul kind of broke that rule. And so Paul had a fuse, just like a lot of guys. And I think that we're going to start to see that as maybe Billy Guerin gets to know this roster more and takes more ownership of it, and it becomes more part of his fabric, that we're going to probably see that time where he kind of breaks a fuse as well.
From Nikolai, old friend, if you were to trade one or two of the young forwards for a center or a right wing, who and why?
I mean, probably Fiala. There's something missing with that guy right now. It's a little dangerous again. He's so young. I just don't know if these guys are all top 6 guys. Donato, I like him as a person. He's got a great shot, but same thing. It's just like, his skating isn't great. He's not strong on his skates. He's not physical, things like that. Greenway, can't skate, not shooting the puck. And when I say can't skate, I just mean he's not gonna
NHL
win he's not gonna win a race,
right.
That type of thing. So, and that's sort of what I mean. And the only reason why I'm even, entertaining the question is because I do think there is going to come a point where Billy's going to have to look at those guys as potentially being the ones to move, because I just don't know how much value a lot of the other guys have on the team. He just signed Spurge to a contract, to a very, very lucrative contract. We know Suter's going nowhere. Brodin is probably tradable. He's somebody that probably he's going to have to entertain at some point, maybe moving. But in terms of the veteran forwards, unless he's going to move Zucker, there's just not a lot of value there. So he's going to have to start to look at the Arsenaks, the Cunnins, the Greenways, the Donatos, and the Fialas. Cunnin is still the one guy that, to me, should be somebody that he shouldn't look at moving right now. I just still think there's a lot there. I think he could shoot the puck. I think he, you wish he could skate faster, but he's the type of guy. He's a junkyard dog. He throws his face in front of anything. He's physical. He gets under people's skin, works his butt off, and he can shoot the puck. I just wouldn't move him. But the other guys, I would consider it.
As usual, we're not going to get to all the Twitter questions. We really do appreciate you sending them, and we'll try to get more and more as the season goes on, especially if the team's lousy. The Twitter questions will be better than actually talking about the team. Once again, thanks to all of our sponsors. Thanks to our producer, Brandon Morton. We'll be back October 21st, 7 o'clock at Tin Shed in Savage, tinshedmn.com. Let's wrap it up with a final question from AJ. Well, let's do a rhetorical question from Slacks. Your buddy Slacks asks, will Bruce ever be able to watch the NHL Network this season? Once again, rhetorical. From AJ, is my math correct here, given that we're 6 games into the season? Zuccarello, Donato, Fiala, Stahl, Greenway, Ek, and Koivu are still on pace for 0 goals.
I'm pretty sure that you're correct on that.
That's when you put it that way.
Yeah. Who are the players again?
Let's see. He had Zuccarello, Donato, Fiala, Stahl, Greenway, Ek, and Koivu.
Yep. You're probably dead on.
Wow.
Hey, is there one positive question? This has been such an uplifting thing. I'm ready.
That's a good point. Let me find a positive, uplifting question.
Floor of this hotel, and I'm thinking of taking a swan dive out the window. So we gotta.
I'm going through.
There's gotta be one positive thing, no?
Well, I'll wrap it up with this question. This is the closest I can find to a positive question. Over under in gallons, the amount of Starbucks Michael goes through this year, tiebreaker, the amount before games versus the amount during games to remain awake.
Oh, my God.
That's the positive question.
Yeah, probably more. I'm trying to think if there's anything happened on this road trip that would be fun to talk about. No.
That's a wrap. That's a wrap, folks. We'll see you October 21st. We're going to bring some positivity on October 21st. At least one of us is.
Pretty little city built on a hillside. Music in the bars and fire in the sky. We went to the beach and it was covered in ice. And I used to call it home. So much coming out, there's nothing going in. but the world won't forgive a winner.
Security threats are everywhere. But with Xfinity XFi, you're notified of threats to your in-home Wi-Fi network, so all your connected devices are protected. That's simple, easy, awesome. Switch to Xfinity today and get a great offer. You'll get fast speeds and the best in-home Wi-Fi experience with Xfinity XFi. Plus, ask about enhanced security for safer browsing and more. Go to Xfinity.com, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit an Xfinity store to switch today. Restrictions apply.